Hello comrades, welcome back to Kerbal Space Program. My name is Fritz and we are playing in version 0.24. Yes, Squad has brought out an update, and this update is very exciting because it sees the implementation of contracts, funds and money, so we can actually start to build our space program from scratch. This is set to be a challenging update, so I hope you're with me and I hope you're willing to accept the challenge that lies before us to bring the Kerbals into a spacefaring, prosperous future. So we're going to go ahead and start a new game. The intro user interface hasn't really changed that much. It's always the one we're used to, and you can see that we have 3 game modes to choose from. I just typed in Fritz there, so sandbox mode. The one we are playing in version 0.22, so we had all the parts pre-unlocked. Science mode, so we harvest science and unlock tech tree parts as we go along. That's what we were playing in the previous update, 0.23.5. Of course, we went on an epic long voyage to Duna, and I've just hovered over it there. Career mode. This is classic career mode, and this is the new career mode, so as I've said, we get to control funds, research, money, all that sort of thing, along with a whole host of new flags. Very exciting, very colourful. Here's mine. I modified it upon an existing PNG file that you can create yourself and do other stuff with it. Now, there was recently a competition to design a new flag for all of the franchises that were involved in Kerbal Space Program, so things like Rocket Max, and one of my friends won it, so unfortunately I can't remember which flag he designed. It was something along the lines of Curlington, Rocket Max, or something like that. So there's Jeb's Junkyard. Another prominent manufacturer is Curlington and Probobobodyne. So sorry about that. The link to his channel will be in the description, and there's the old NASA flag. And we're going to go ahead and accept my own colourful hammer and sickle and get started. Right, that I had an attempt at recording which didn't go too well, so nonetheless, here we are at the Space Center. Isn't that fantastic? Not much has changed in the way of the general outlook of the Space Center facility, except for the fact that if we look at this small building here, that's become available after, since the 0.21 update. That's been there, I believe, but it's actually now useful. This is Mission Control, yes, the hub of what we're going to do in this update. Here's Gene Kerman, the head of Mission Control, obviously. And you can see that we have 4 contracts here now. After we finish these contracts, the next batch of items are procedurally generated, which means that we can actually expand our space program exponentially. But the first contract here is to launch a new vessel. Knuckle-crackingly good. So this basically kicks off the Kerbal Space Program. It's prestigious trivial, and we get 1,835 Kerbs, I think, is the fallback currency I can refer to it as, and we get a lot of money if we complete it, but we lose 2,000 of our Kerbs if we don't. Of course, we start with 10,000 Kerbs, so if we fail this, which it's highly unlikely that we will, we'll be left with 8. Simple arithmetic, really. Anyway, what we can also do, I think, with the first iteration of our rocket is set an altitude record of 5 kilometers, 5,000 meters. Pretty easy, I think, even with a really basic rocket. So we're going to accept this contract and accept that one. Off to the VAB then. Let's waste no time in building a rocket. So we need a command pod. Back to basics, obviously. There's our flag on the side. I mark 16 parachute, if it will let me select it. There we go. I'm still trying to work out why it's grey on the command pod but white on the diagram. That doesn't matter. We're just going to simply stack fuel tanks like we did in the inception of 0.23.5, our first rocket in that. Save. And then just whack on the only engine that we have. Of course, we don't want to attach any solid rockets because we don't have any radial decouplers, and they'll of course just be dead weight once they run out. And we can just go ahead and name our rocket. I think Rocket 1 will be a sensible name. I need to think up new names for my rockets. Something imaginative. And that's our rocket complete. Doesn't it look fantastic? And here we are, of course, at the launch pad. I edited out the intermediate scene, obviously. I will edit it out. And you can see that we have some new tabs up here. A neat little space-saving device, rather than having the text or the name of each tab written up. So the same thing is displayed on each tab as it was before, but instead we have a few more tabs. So we have our reputation-o-meter, the amount of money we have left. Obviously we don't have any science, because we haven't launched any rockets yet. And yeah, we spent some money on the rocket, so we've lost a bit there. And we have our selected contracts, and we'll open up that final tab when we're actually launching, because we need to see what we have to do. Now, we have to remember that this is also tied in with the science mode of Kerbal Space Program. So we also have to remember to actually collect science. So we're going to do a crew report here. We don't have any transmitting devices on board this vessel, so we're just going to have to keep the data, sorry. And the throttle is already set to half full. So we need to throttle all the way up and launch the first rocket in Kerbal Space Program. Point 24 is underway. We are going up like a rocket, which indicates that the launch is performing as it should. I certainly hope it is, and you can see there that we have completed and fulfilled the first contract, which is to launch the first rocket in Kerbal Space Program. Possibly the easiest way of beginning the game. Well, the game for those of you who haven't played it before and who are watching this for the first time as a Let's Play. We've never heard of it before. And the rocket... no, I don't want Java. Once again, I need to really think about updating Java in the near future, except all the times that the notifications come up, I've been playing Minecraft in the Exiled Adventures world, which means that I'd have to close it down and update before I actually think about doing anything else, which is annoying, so I haven't bothered. Anyway, our contract number 2 has been fulfilled, so I guess the purpose of this mission has now been completed, and we can just go ahead and cut the engines right there. Our altitude record has been surpassed quite substantially. I think the Kerbin World First record keeping agency will certainly be happy with our progress. Now I'm just checking the parts that we have on the vessel. You see this new update, obviously I've said, has funds enabled, so the more parts we bring back to terra firma, the more money we get back. And the reason why the parachute is fully deployed downwards indicates that we are still travelling at quite speed upwards, which I hope isn't going to be too much of an issue, but you can see that we are slowly pinwheeling around, so that shouldn't be too much of a problem, like I hypothesized. Jebediah is a little concerned, but I certainly am not, because I know that the situation is fully under control. But as the roll becomes a bit steeper, I think I've decided to cut here, and oh, there we go. We're now officially free-falling. Well, not quite free-falling, but yes. I guess I'll see you on the ground. And here we are, of course, drifting gently down. I wandered lonely as a cloud with a retro parachute design. Of course, we haven't moved very far from our original launch site. It's quite a bit of a toy rocket type affair. But as a first rocket, it performed well. I'm a bit concerned as to why the flag next to the launch pad hasn't changed to my Fritz flag, but I guess it will change once the new save is bedded in. I'm just firing the engines here just to avoid any damage and bring the entirety of my rocket home in one piece, because obviously I said we get more funds in return. The lighting engine has oddly glitched out, which means screen flash. And there we are, main engine cut off. Rocket 1 has landed. Jebediah Kerman adjusting his helmet, and we can go ahead and recover the vessel. Textbook. Loading screens, ahoy. And the game's crashed. It always does this when it loads for some reason. That's why I edit out the sequences, because they are quite boring. So our reputation of me to go up there. We are off the middle ground, and we have gained quite a bit of money. It's 8,920 Kerbs, and you can see that we have 6.5 science obtained on this mission, so that consists of the recovery of the vessel that survived a flight and the crew report from the launch pad, which we did, obviously. Easy. And all of the parts that we recovered, of course, the command pod actually contains monopropellant, which is used for the EVA fuel for the Kerbals. And the fuel tanks all came back in one piece, along with the parachute. And we have 98.0% value because we landed at KSC, well, quite close to KSC. So I think the less distance you put between yourself and the facility means that the more value the data is. And we have lots of funds, 2,892, which is probably a subtotal of what all of these parts sum to. And Jebediah Kerman is, of course, available for new missions, and we have 25.0 reputation points. Perfect. I think we can go head off to the vehicle assembly building and see what other technology we can unlock. If we click on this unresearched tab here, you can see I'm going to research the double wide fuel tanks along with the LV909 engine if we have enough, which we don't, but you can see that we have lots of important parts here like separatrons, radial decouplers, which are inherently useful. But that concludes this episode of Kerbal Space Program, the first episode in 0.24. I certainly hope you enjoy this kind of short first impressions video. And my name is Fritz, and I will see you next time on Kerbal Space Program.